What's up, y'all? I left my tripod in Colombia, so I'm holding my phone to make this video. But that's how dedicated I am to making videos. So, y'all know that I like to read a lot of books. I read a book called The Science of Accelerated Learning, and I think it had a lot of concepts that you could apply to language learning. It's about learning in general, but I'm gonna take some of that stuff and apply it to learning languages to help y'all. So I'm only gonna discuss parts of the first 3 chapters. If y'all want me to talk about more, let me know. But just for this video, we're gonna talk about the first 3 chapters. And so the first chapter was about understanding how our minds work. Because if you don't understand how your brain works, you're not gonna do what's optimal and efficient, right? So the first thing that it talked about was that your study sessions should be between 30 and 50 minutes, because we literally just don't have the attention span to do more than 50 minutes. So if you do more than 50 minutes, you're just putting undue stress on your brain. It's a flood of information that you literally cannot retain, right? The second thing in that process is understanding that our brain works in concepts, right? So you could try to memorize everything, but you don't really understand what you're reading. You're just spouting off facts, right? So if a recipe says, do this, do this, do this, you'll be better off understanding why you need to do that than memorizing the step that says, boil this onion, do this, do this. If you understand that boiling this product gives it this flavor, this is something that you could take to another recipe, right? So it's not just like, oh, for this recipe, I know exactly how to do it, but I don't know how to do more than this. And in language learning, I would say the equivalent, to me anyways, you can debate this, the equivalent would be, maybe you know one word, but you don't know any of the synonyms because you don't really know the concept of the word. You just learn the word on its own, and you don't know anything else besides that one single word. Whereas if you really look at the patterns, like in Spanish, for example, when certain words end a certain way, all the other verbs that end like that are mainly the same. They're related to each other, whether that's in conjugation or where they came from or whatever, right? So concepts over facts and information. The last thing in that first chapter was, what was it? Hold on, I forgot. Oh yeah, you need to challenge yourself, but not to the point that you break yourself down in frustration. So there's a little study in the book where they had 2 groups of kids, one group that got help and one group that basically didn't get help, that didn't get the answers, I should say. The group that got the answers, obviously they did better on the first set of problems, but when they went to a new set of problems, they couldn't figure it out. Whereas the other group that didn't get help or didn't get the answers, they were able to take the information that they knew and apply it to the next problem. So they're building. That's how our brain works. We're problem solvers. So you need to challenge yourself. That's the whole concept behind comprehensible input, right? It's like you're getting something that's a little bit above you, and when you go to sleep and you wake up, over time your brain is breaking that stuff down. So you don't need to watch a physics lecture, but maybe don't watch something where you understand 100% of what you're seeing. So the second chapter is about memory retention and understanding that short-term and long-term memories are different, and the way to get something into your long-term memory is either basically through a bunch of rehearsal or something that's so powerful, right? If you think about like PTSD, you don't forget the one event that happened because it's strong enough to make a lasting impression on you forever. So it's the same thing. If you just look at words, you're gonna forget them. There needs to be something behind those words. I think I've told this story before, but I'll never forget the first time my mother-in-law, she said, "Donde están las ollas?" And I had seen that word a bunch of times. And if you'd have asked me before then, I would have said there's no way I could forget that. But in that moment when she asked me, I had no idea what she was asking for. I'm like, las ollas, ¿dónde están las ollas? And I'm like, I know this, but I couldn't think of it because it meant nothing to me. And from that moment on, I was so embarrassed that I will literally never forget those words because it became a very personal experience to me. So you have to try to get these words and these concepts from being short term to long term. And so one of the things it talks about is the natural forgetting curve that we have in our brain. Basically, when you learn something, the next day you're gonna forget 10%, you're gonna forget 10% until eventually it's either not there anymore or you only retain 10% of what you learned in the first place. So you have to do a process of retrieval. If you study the same thing every single day for 7 days in a row, you're gonna retain it way better than if you study it one day and never look at it again. And that's why I always tell people, instead of learning 5,000 things, learn 100 things and learn them really, really, really well. And within that process too, it's more than just learning the word. All this stuff is connected. Just like I said in the first chapter, it's more than just learning the word, right? You need to learn something behind the word. You need to have imagery with it. You need to, for instance, actually rehearse it. Like, you might have heard of a technique called shadowing, right? Instead of just watching a TV show and learning a word, actually say it after they say it. Like, say it with the same emotion that they say it. And I promise you, that stuff will stick in your head better. You guys have probably seen me say on this channel before that I don't like flashcards. That's true, but it's also a little bit of a lie, because technically I use flashcards. When I read books on my Kindle, if I don't know a word, I highlight it, I look up the definition in Spanish, and I make a note, because you can make a note on the word. I make a note in my own words of what that word means to me, in my own simple words, and I usually use like an example sentence that I came up with so that it becomes more personal and that it sticks in my brain. So some of the things that you can do to make memories more personal to you, if you make flashcards, for example, describe the word in your own words. Don't just write the word down in Spanish and then have the definition in English or the translation in English, because that it doesn't create anything. You just know how to translate it, but you don't really know what it means, right? So either explain it in your own words, describe the opposite of it, make an example sentence out of it. And like I said, if you do it in the other language, that's even better. If you can't describe it, you probably don't know it that well. I remember I tried to describe the subjunctive once, and I'm like, damn, I don't really know what I'm describing here. I don't actually know what the subjunctive is. I just know it as a word, but I don't actually know how to describe it to someone else. So how well do I really know it? So stuff like that, right? The third chapter, the last one I'm gonna discuss today, is about active learning techniques, right? And I'm only gonna use 2 of these out of the 5 or 6 that they give, because I don't want this video to be an hour long. And like I said, I'm making everything kind of connected. So there's elaborative interrogation and then self-explanation. Elaborative interrogation is basically continuing to ask yourself why, like a little kid, right? Instead of saying what, say why. Why do I need to use this word here? Why do I need to use the subjunctive, right? Oh, well, you have to use the subjunctive because it's not indicative. But why is it not indicative? Oh, because this isn't a fact. It's subjective, and you switch from first person to this person. So, of course, this is not a fact. You don't know that it's going to happen. Whatever. You keep asking yourself why. And if you can't get to the bottom of why you're doing something, you don't know it that well, right? So that's the method behind that. And it's really good. It works for pretty much everything. The example they gave was the Great Depression, right? A lot of people can say what the Great Depression was. Can they answer why? Why did it happen? Oh, well, it happened because of this and margin selling. Oh, well, what's margin selling? Why did that happen? Why did this happen? Why did people pull their money out? And the more whys you can answer, the better you'll understand the topic and you won't forget it. And the other one, self-explanation, is basically what I just described with the memory techniques, but you just talk yourself through whatever, right? The example they gave was describing gravity. If you can't describe gravity in a sentence or two, you don't know it that well. So if you can't say anything at all, or if it takes you 50 sentences, you don't know it that well, and you can work on being more precise and concise with your answer, and that's gonna help you a lot. So, like I said, I don't want to talk for like an hour. Just wanted to kind of drop some stuff on y'all. If I got any questions, leave a comment. If you want me to go into more chapters of the book or similar books, because I have a bunch like that, let me know. Hope this helps someone. Peace.